All right, so now before I go through the details of how all this works, okay, and again, this can be a little confusing at first, so hopefully you got a little bit of it when you went through with your ZyBook, and now we'll try to clarify some. But before I do that, before I go through the details of how these two different scripts work together, I'm going to jump over to a very, very similar set of code pages and see if I can make this make sense with just slightly less detail. So here's our login page. The idea is this is our login page, and this is some other page on our website, maybe account details. So it's a page that shows some details that we only want to show a person if they've actually logged in. So this is the real page that the person wants to get to, but we're not going to let them get there until they've run through the login. So this page over here, this part right here, it says show remainder of page. So that's where it's going to show you all of your account details. But again, we don't want this page to be viewed until the person has logged in. So the way this is going to work is, notice if somebody tried to come to this account details page to begin with. Let's say they hadn't even gone to the login. They directly come to this page. They type in that URL, and it does a check. It says if session logged in, so this is that array that's used for storing session data. It says if session logged in equals yes. In other words, if there's a variable, session variable called logged in, and the key in the array is logged in, has a variable called yes stored, then we'll show them the rest of the page. Otherwise, we're going to do what's called a redirect and send them to the login page. So this is the part of the code right here that checks to see, has some session variable been set called logged in that has a value of yes. And if it has been, then we'll show them the remainder of the page. So obviously, if somebody tried to come to this page first without ever running this code over here that's going to set that variable, okay, this will not be true. And so it's not going to show them the page. It's always going to redirect. So if somebody just tries to come here directly, it's going to redirect to the login page. And if they try to come back here again without logging in, it's going to redirect them back to this page. The only way you get to view this page that has important details is if somehow this session variable got set. And that's what the login page is going to do over here. So the way the login page is going to work, I left out some details, but the first time it's going to show this form here with an action to actually post back to the same page. And the form would be in here, and it would have username and password, and they'd click submit, and it would go and it would send the information up here. And then what happens is it checks to see if the correct password was sent. So again, I didn't write all the PHP code here, but I want you to think conceptually about this. So whatever somebody typed in for a password in the form, when that gets sent back to this page, it checks to see if it's the correct password. It would probably do that by querying a database, but somehow it would check to see if it's the correct password and username, obviously. And if that's true, it sets this session variable. Okay, session logged in, and you could, this is arbitrary. You can come up with any name here and any string here. Okay, I just chose these. So it says setting session logged in equals yes. And so that's how that session variable gets set. And it's only going to get set if a person has gone through this form, submitted it, we check to see if they typed in the correct username and password, then that session variable gets set. Okay, and then we can redirect them to this other page that we want to send them to. And now when we get to this page, or every time they come back to this page for a while, as long as that session's still going, every time it checks for this, it's going to say, oh yeah, session logged in is equal to yes, because it was set right there, and it will show them the remainder of the page for as long as that session stays active. So as many times as they come back to this page, this is always going to be set because that's stored in that session, and so they can see the page. Okay. Obviously, if they didn't have the correct password here, okay, it's not going to set this. It's not going to run this code that we're going to talk about here in a second that redirects to this other page, and it will just come back down and display the form again. So that's one of the really nice parts about this post back, is that you can actually just have it display the exact same form again. If there's a chance that after somebody submits this page, they typed the wrong login information, it'll just display the form again, and then they can try again. And if they submit the wrong login information, it just comes down and displays the form again. So that's kind of the idea here. You type in your information, submit back to this page, check, and if it has correct information, you set your session and redirect to the other page, And then the other page, of course, checks to make sure that that session variable was actually set before it shows you any of the important information, because somebody could have come to this page directly without going through the login page. But that's the idea. So hopefully that's somewhat clear. It's an important concept to understand, especially if any of you are going to put this type of authentication into your website you're making for your project.